Hi everyone, Nova here from Brighter Outlook Counselling Service with this week's live narcissistic abuse recovery question and answer session. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome back. I'm a counsellor on the north side of Brisbane in Queensland, Australia, and I work with victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse, helping them to work their way through the trauma that they've experienced from being in such a psychologically abusive relationship, as you would know you have experienced with the narcissist in your life. Okay, tonight we have David Demars back. I'm very, very excited to have him back as always, and he will be joining us any second. And as soon as I see him pop up on our screen, I will let him in. Okay, tonight we're going to be the topic of discussion, and I hope you will all join in and have lots of questions ready for me. The topic we thought we'd talk about is that seems to be asked a lot is why me? You know, why did the narcissist target me? What, you know, do I have a sign on my forehead? Why is it that that I was unlucky enough to meet someone so horrendously abusive and cruel, and to stay in a relationship like that for so long? So that's the topic we're going to be discussing tonight. So I'm just waiting for all the comments to appear, and already we've got Raymond. Ray's watching. Hi Ray, how you going? And we've got Jackie here, Jackie Peterson. Hi Jackie. Everyone, please say hi, just like Jackie and Ray have as you join. Say hi and say whereabouts you're from in the world. This forum is starting to really pick up. We're really starting to raise awareness around narcissistic abuse, and we want to continue to do that. And you can help us to do that by sharing this live stream. So please, I know I say it a lot, hi Colleen, but please share. It's the only way we can get the message out there, so that there is more help out there for you guys, so that that you don't feel so alone, and that you can go to a therapist and they know what you're talking about when you talk about terms such as, gaslighting and, I don't know, flying monkeys and love bombing and that kind of thing. And here we've got David here, so I'll just let David in. And hopefully this will all go as planned. No. Just waiting for David to pop up, and I'm not sure why he's not. So I'm just going to try again. Sorry guys, this doesn't always go off without a hitch. I'll give it another go, David. There we go. We want you in there, David, and it's not coming up with the normal thing to let you in, which is really strange. So I want to keep trying. Clicking on you again. No, it's not letting you in, David, which is really strange. Okay. Alrighty. Have you done something different from your end, David? Oh my goodness. And it always happens when you're going live. Isn't that like Murphy's Law, everyone? This wouldn't have happened when we were just, talking on the phone or messaging earlier. But for tonight, for some reason, it's not working. So I'm going to keep trying to let David in, but it just doesn't want to let him in for some reason, which I don't know why. No, it's not working, David. Okay, what to do? Okay. David, can you keep trying from your end to get in? I'm just going to say a few quick highs to everyone while we try and sort out this problem during the live stream. We've got Michelle here. Hi, Michelle, how you going? And we've got Tyler watching, and we've got, maybe I can let you in from there, David. Oh, here we go. I think that's a better way. Bring David on. There we go. I think this time it works. Come on, David. Yes. You gave me a heart attack there.
You know what?
How
Don't
you going?
stress out.
Oh, I thought I was like going to have to stop the live feed and possibly start it again. Don't do that to me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, everyone, we finally got it sorted. For those of you who are new here tonight, David's tuning in from Las Vegas. So it's like, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning there. So, yeah, these things don't always go off without a hitch. So I thought we were going to have a few problems there and I was going to have to stop it. But thank goodness you're here to join us. So, yeah, everyone, David is an expert in narcissistic abuse recovery. He has his a very, very popular YouTube channel called Crazy Narcissist Ex-Girlfriend. And he is going to be co-hosting the show tonight and providing lots and lots of support. So I always look forward to having David here to join us. So, David, we've got, who else have we got here? I'll just say a few quick highs. We've got Nicole. Hi, Nicole. Nicole Parker's there. Tyler says hi. Raymond, Michelle, been quietly watching you from the start. You've really helped me know. But oh, that's fantastic, Michelle. I'm really, really happy that, that this information is helping you. Colleen, Jackie, and Ray. Yeah. Okay. So, David, I started to tell everyone about the topic, which was we've kind of just called it "Why me?" And people often ask that. They think, well, why have I been so unlucky? It's why do I keep attracting narcissists if they do? If there's been more than one, why was I unlucky enough to attract such a cruel, heartless SOB into my life that has, nearly destroyed it? Why?
Yeah. No, we have to know so doesn't happen again. Let's all have a clear understanding of what happened so
Yeah,
it doesn't happen again. Yeah.
yeah,
And,
and that,
and it's not easy. It's not just one thing we put our finger on and say, well, this is why, this is all you guys have to do. There's a lot of things, a lot of reasons. So I hope between the both of us and an hour and a half, we get them all out for you guys. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and that's our main aim, guys. Is we don't want this. We don't want you to go through this again. We know how painful this is and how it nearly destroyed you. So yeah, that's our aim tonight, is to give you the tools and let you know, I guess, why it happened and why you were targeted. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So David, did you want to kick it off?
Sure. Yeah. I made a video kind of about this a little bit, and it's the title was when emotional abuse becomes normal. When it's normal, it's a normal thing in your life, and it's one thing we need to really talk about is what is familiar. How did you grow up? Because something I hear a lot from people that, especially as they get older, is people get in their 40s and 50s, 60s, and they experience this. They say, I just feel like there's no hope for me. I feel like I can't date again. I feel like this is it, and if that's been the pattern your whole life, then of course you're going to expect that. Yeah,
Yeah,
because you haven't had any success or stability in your life with relationships with people. So of course it's going to feel like that, and it doesn't have to. It doesn't need to. It just needs to be fixed. This problem needs to be fixed so it doesn't keep occurring. Yeah.
it's
So
that
what's
sense.
familiar,
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
that sense of just learned helplessness.
hmm
You get, you get so familiar with the way you've been treated and that negativity that yeah, like you said, it becomes familiar, and anything
sure.
outside of that is kind of scary. It's almost like staying in that war zone. It's like the better the devil you know. At least you know it. You know what to expect.
So we're creatures of comfort. And sometimes that comfort may not seem comfortable to you, but if that's how we grew up, it's comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, and we all say, we had a normal childhood. And that's right, because our childhood is normal to us, but
to
not to
us, it's
everybody else.
relative.
Yeah. So what is normal? Let's get away from that. Normal is just what you know. And if
Yeah,
that's what you know, then that's what you do when you're older. And you can get into Freudian. We are attracted to our opposite gender parent. So we grow up with a parent, and that's kind of who we find ourselves with, similar to our opposite gender parent. There again, it's what we're familiar with, what we know, what we respond to. Yeah,
Yeah, we tend to be, David, we tend to be drawn to people who make us relive, those earlier experiences, over and over again until we learn why we're doing it. So, if that's a familiar pattern, like you said, if what you experience with that other sex parent, like me being female, with a father figure, if that's something negative that became normal for you, then you're going to take that into relationships with you. And I guess the thing is, a lot of people don't realize that they're doing this because it's so ingrained, it's so subconscious, it just becomes part of you, of who you are.
that's right. That's right. What we learn in childhood does become ingrained with us forever. It shapes who we are. We're just pieces of clay that our caretakers shape and mold us into who they want us to be, whether they're conscious or aware of it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've talked about this on this show before about what is love. And we kind of think of love as by watching our parents, how they interact, the way they treat us, that's love. So if it's familiar and normal to see our parents fight a lot, we end up being in relationships where there's a lot of screaming, and that's how we handle our problems: screaming, fighting, accusing. Um,
Yeah.
and the old verbiage, the female who her father hit her when she was growing up might have a boyfriend or husband that hits her, and she knows it's wrong, but she says, but I do know that he loves me by hitting me. I know that that's love.
Yeah.
So
And
what are we used to? Yeah.
yeah, and I just thought of an example, a very sad example, David. I remember not so long ago, a woman coming to see me, a victim of domestic violence, not only just verbal, emotional, but also physical. And I remember talking to her about I think she had, like a 2 and 3 year old, their experiences with the domestic violence, and had the kids, react to this. And I remember her telling me that the kids would, when they engaged in these screaming matches, the kids would just simply play with their Lego. They wouldn't even bat an eyelid. They would. It became so normalized to these children, and they're only 2 and 3, that
Uh-huh.
it didn't. In the end, they, I guess, on an overt level, they didn't appear to be frightened. This was
Right.
normal, their normal environment. So you can only imagine, with their tiny little brains, forming, um, what they're going to take on into their relationships when they get older. So it's so true that those early experiences shape us.
Yeah, totally. I mean, a child growing up with trauma will find that trauma again.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
one way or another.
the thing is, with narcissists, they're just so expert at unlocking those traumas and those inner wounds that you don't even know. They're so subconscious, they're so deeply ingrained. The narcissist is actually an expert at unlocking those wounds and reflecting them back to you. So they will, it could be, feelings of abandonment or rejection, not getting that nurturing from, one or both parents. And the narcissist just somehow prods at those wounds, and reflects that, hey, this is a wound that needs healing.
Exactly. Right. They know that. They know our insecurities. And
Yeah,
and they also aware that, if you grew up this way, you also won't have the support you need in an abusive relationship as well. They're not going to
that
be there to interfere.
that's right. And yeah, and boundaries. You tend to, when you've been in that toxic environment, which becomes your normal, when you grow into an adult, your boundaries are so low, and you tend to be a people pleaser. So that's another thing. Like your needs, you don't really worry about your needs. It's all about fixing someone else. And of course, that's just that just makes you a magnet, for a
Sure.
narcissist, as that,
Right.
empathic type of person. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I stress neglect so much in this community with victims of this kind of thing. Neglect has to be profound in their childhood, and it also has to be. It's also the hardest thing to see, to understand that you've been neglected.
Yeah.
If we don't remember being left in a corner of the room all day crying, then we think we weren't neglected, and it's not necessarily all about that. It's
Yeah.
it's not getting our needs met. And if we don't get our needs met, we're neglected. Our needs are neglected. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, it looks like we've got a few questions here, David. So I'll just start to find them. Okay, we've got, what else have we got? Malene Hannah's here. Hi, Malene. Kimberly Ann D'Angela says, hello, David. We've got Joanne Jordan
Oh,
Gunby. Hi, Joanne. We've got Michelle Baumgartner says, I'm 36 and I feel exactly that, David. So I'm not exactly sure what you're relating to, Michelle, but I'm sure it's to do with that, those negative experiences that you would have gone through in childhood. Kimberly says, that's how I feel. I don't trust anyone. I feel like I could never date again. Sad what he did to me, and it's been over a year already. I have no friends, totally alone. Yeah. And this is
yep.
just so common, isn't it, David? It's that they destroy your trust. And it's like, how do you get into another relationship if you don't want to be hurt again? It's like, do I put myself out there?
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, this is important. We can't fail. We can't have multiple failed relationships. So, that adage everyone says, dust yourself off, get back on the horse again.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't know where that horse is taking you, I wouldn't advise that.
Yeah, exactly. It's about learning what you've been through. I know a lot of therapists will say, you need to move on, and you need to start to get back into life again, and all those kinds of things. And while it's correct that you shouldn't be isolating, but with this type of abuse, with narcissistic abuse, you need to learn what you've been through, and you need to be
Absolutely.
validated, and you need to
Hmm.
heal those wounds, or you are only going to repeat the cycle. So yeah, jumping back on the horse is only going to get you in a relationship in an epidemic in today's society of another narcissist. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah, we need success. So after the most horrible failed relationship in our lives, let's take some time, let's find out what is a good relationship, and let's start small. Let's start with friends. Let's start making friends, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we need friends.
And stay off the
It,
dating sites.
yeah,
I'm,
yeah. Well,
I'm just,
there's no coincidence. There is no coincidence, guys, that you're finding yourself after these relationships isolated, alone. Family doesn't believe you or listen to you. You lost your friends. You have no support, and that should show you haven't had the correct support throughout your life. That's why you're here now with not much support. And I think that should show kind of how you grew up. Because if you had this kind of support, we don't do this. We don't do this with all the love and support from supportive family and friends and things like this. We won't do this.
yeah. And that's another thing, isn't it? That narcissists will target people who don't have a lot of support, although it's not a necessary criteria, because if you do have support, they will soon make sure that you don't. Because as we know, um, your support gives you, I guess, a backbone. That the support of your family and friends. So that's why it's so important for the narcissist to isolate them, isn't it, from any type of support, so that they can manipulate them and control them. And they don't have that kind of interference. So yeah, if you did have support, guys, you will know that in the end, with the smear campaign and I guess you self-isolating through the manipulations, you will have very little support at the end.
and we lose people that care about us when we are involved in toxic, abusive relationships. After time, they just can't watch it. They can't see it
Yeah.
anymore, you know?
Yeah. And victims end up defending, the narcissist with that cognitive dissonance that goes
Yep,
on, those conflicting thought
yep,
processes. Oh, they're abusing me, but, they really do love me. So they kick out the bad thought, which is they're abusing me, and they end up defending the narcissist to their loved ones. And, like loved ones, I guess, are only human, and they kind of throw their arms up and go, I can't watch you hurt yourself anymore. And this is all intentional, isn't it, by the narcissist? It's just a way, it's a weapon in their arsenal to isolate them.
yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, none of us started with nobody in our lives. They do see that we have bonds, we have family, things that they don't have. They're attracted to that. The part of a target is, how do we increase their status? They like things that they see in people that they can't have or obtain, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So,
as far as qualities that we go, they like the fact that we do have family, we do have relationships with people, and
yeah.
we're somewhat normal compared to them. We can do
Yeah.
things they cannot. Yeah.
It's no coincidence, isn't it, that you'll find, most narcissists will have, terribly dysfunctional relationships with their own, parents and possibly siblings as well. That is no coincidence. So I guess, yeah, one red flag to look out for. And of course, it will always be their fault, well, why the relationship is so, dysfunctional. Okay, we've
Right.
got Tina Lee Tingle Davids is here. Hi, Tina. Um, okay, who else have we got here? Crystal Bashams is here. Jodie Campbell is here. Hi, Rebecca Chittum is here. If I remember correctly, Rebecca, you're from New Zealand. Correct me if I'm wrong. And anyway, Rebecca says hi, Nova and David. Okay, we've got Tony and Ronayne. Hi, Tony. My empathy is turbocharged. I nurse and feel abused by a stepfather in hideous ways. 8 months clean of an abusive, hold on, get the end of that, of an abusive husband of 16 years. It's changed me now at 40. 16 years. Wow. And a lot of people would look at that and go, well, the usual, if they're so abusive, how could you possibly stay, 16 years, David? And the thing is, the victim gets so ground down, in the end, that they ask themselves the same question, why do I stay? And that just increases, perpetuates those feelings of worthlessness. I don't deserve anything good in my life.
Yeah. Well, shame is something we can really build on top of, and more shame, more shame, more shame, more shame. So, and that's important. That's a major thing to talk about here, guys, is how do we process things we've been ashamed of in our life? Do we have shame? And most likely we have to. Um, when this kind of stuff is normal in our lives, trauma and things, abuse and hurt and pain, when it becomes normal, we believe we are the problem. Trauma equals shame. Trauma equals we're bad people. Not we did a bad thing or someone did a bad thing to us. It's we are bad people. Something in our subconscious believes that we are bad. That's our self-worth.
Yeah.
And
And
that,
if
that
we're
becomes real
if
evident.
we're
Uh-huh.
sorry, David, if
Oh,
we're
I was just
bad
going to say that
people,
becomes real evident when we need boundaries, when we need
yeah,
those boundaries, and we're not asserting them, and we're allowing people to cross them. That shows you your self worth. That's how worthy you feel of yourself. Yeah.
absolutely. And if we are bad people, then we don't deserve good relationships. So victims, especially if they come from trauma-filled childhoods, they will on a subconscious level seek out that same toxicity because they don't deserve a good healthy relationships. And I know victims have said this to me before. I'm just not attracted, to anyone who treats me nice, treats me
Yeah.
nicely. I'm just not attracted to that, that clean, healthy type of relationship. And what they're not getting is that the fact that those healthy, drama-free relationships seem toxic sorry, seem boring to them
Boring.
because they're not
Uh-huh.
toxic. They
Uh-huh.
don't have the drama in that their bodies, their minds, that all that subconscious is used to. So that's
Mhm.
why, guys, you think these relationships are boring when they're healthy. It's because you have become so used to toxicity that that's what you go and
Yeah,
see
and
in
you'll
relationships.
and you're gonna find yourself doubting if someone really likes you because they're not toxic.
Yeah,
They just say, yeah, I like you. I'll see you next week. And you're like,
yeah.
wait a minute, what?
I know. Or oh my goodness, that they only texted me once today. Like what's going on? They really don't like me. Something's going on here. They're just not that into me because they are so used to, possibly the previous narcissist, bombing them with,
Yeah.
text after text after text. And if they didn't
Well,
reply, there would be question mark, question mark, question mark. That if they
yeah.
get into a healthy relationship where someone is like not wanting to push themselves on them too early and just text them, hi, how you going? That that's boring, and they just don't like me enough.
Or you're worried about telling them no and it goes fine. They say, oh, okay, great. Call me tomorrow or something. And you're like, wait a minute. I'm used to what? No, and just keep pushing it. And, yeah.
I know,
And
and you really,
that means you care about me. And the fact that I just told you no and you just said, oh, okay, walked away. Now I'm going to sit here and go, oh man, did I hurt their feelings? Do they like me? Are they coming back? Yeah.
yeah. And that questioning your judgment is really just the end result of gaslighting, isn't it? It's like you've been gaslighted for so long into questioning your own reality that you sit there when someone gives you a just a normal response, instead of taking it at face value and go, oh, okay, that's what they really mean. You analyze it and you, or did they really mean that? Or maybe they're doing that because they, of something else, and you overanalyze, and this is really the end result of years of gaslighting.
And expecting the worst,
Yeah,
always expecting the worst. If you grew up with drama and trauma, how good were things in your child? How long were things good for? Because if things were pretty bad, often things that go well kind of scare us. We say, oh well, it's going well now. It's going to be bad. It's going to be
yeah,
bad. So if
yeah,
someone's being nice, everything's going well. Oh, it's going to be bad. It means they don't like me. It means,
yeah. I guess you
yeah,
get used to that cycle, don't you? Where the calm, it gets a bit scary because it's always followed by a storm.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we better move on, I guess, with some more questions here. Yeah, guys, I'm going to say it again. Please share, 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 share. We're trying to raise awareness around narcissistic abuse, and also say whereabouts in the world you're from, so David and I can say hi back. Okay, we've got Courts is here. Hi, Courts. Uh, Rebecca Chittum says, I always choose the bolting horse, David. Laugh out loud. You wouldn't be the first, Rebecca. Okay. We've got Berna Roxy is here. Hi, Berna. Not too many questions yet, guys. So I don't know if any of you are a little hesitant because maybe this is your first time, but please, a lot of you I haven't seen here before, please comment your questions. We will try to get through as many as possible. And also, if you've been through something, you're a victim of narcissistic abuse, there's a 99.9% chance that the other people in this group will have been through the same thing. And that's, another benefit of this forum is that you can support each other. So if you see something that, resonates with you, talk to each other, comment back and forth, and let each other know that you're there. But yeah, please comment your questions. Uh, okay, Kimberly Ann says, oh my God, I'm totally isolating. Okay. Yeah, isolating is so common, isn't it, David? But in the end, it's what we're taught by the narcissist, but it's certainly not what we need.
Yeah, right. And ask yourself, how did you grow up handling things? Were your parents available for you to talk about things all the time? I mean, look at some of the most important times in your life growing up. Coming into adulthood and dating and things like this. were these open discussions with your family?
Yeah.
You know, or because if they weren't, then you are there isolated again. You're alone. You're by yourself. You have to deal with all of this and think about what should I do? What can I do? What's going on? So if you don't have this kind of support that we're talking about, then here you are again. Here you are again. And what do we do naturally? We isolate. And as human beings, when we're doing bad and sick and dying, we kind of crawl away from the group and go off.
Yeah.
And shame makes us not want to ask for help.
Yeah.
So it's
And
harder for us to go get the help we need.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
And that's such a good point. David, you can imagine, when they're as a child, pulling on mum or dad's shirt or skirts and, going, mummy, daddy, and not getting acknowledged, not having any excitement about something you wanted to show them and just constantly being invalidated and not
right,
given any attention, let alone nurturing. So what do? You go away and you take any, if you're sad, if you're happy, no one's going to be there to work through those emotions with you. So you go away and you isolate. So yeah, as you just said, this becomes what we do. We there's been a painful experience. So what do? We isolate, and it's actually
right.
the last thing that you should be doing. And it's going to be the hardest thing not to do is to get out there amongst people and support. Yeah,
That's right. And we internalize these things and we make it our fault. It's us. And how much harder, if we see the person, if it's us against them and it's our ex and they go off and they look happy and they're posting on Facebook, everything's great. The problem is us. We're the ones feeling bad.
yeah,
Problems are us. And the
yeah.
problem is us. So that
And this,
shame just compiles. Yeah.
yeah, and this is what we mean by guys, the narcissist just having an innate, inherent ability to pluck out those core wounds, because a narcissist will catch on to that they can that you didn't get what you needed as a child, whether it be attention, love, nurturing, and all that sort of stuff. So that then becomes a weapon that they will use against you. So
Right.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I hope that's helped. Guys, Colleen's here. Colleen Conway says zero, never was any. Okay, not sure what you're referring to, Colleen, but I'm sure I will find out. Okay, Kimberly says, but how do I make friends in my area? Yeah, and this is what you're going to have to practice, Kimberly. How do I make friends in my area? I don't go to clubs or bars, and that's probably a good thing. Nothing. So where do I meet friends? I would love to have friends. David, this is a question we get asked a lot. And yeah,
Yeah, well, I like to say, when we're in relationships with narcissists, borderline, sociopaths, all these things, it's all about them. And you guys know that. They take up your time, they take up your energy, they take up your thought, they take your money, and we kind of lose ourselves. We lose things we were interested in before the relationship. You guys will know what I'm talking about. After this relationship, rekindle some of these interests again. Go back and see if they still interest you again. But my point is make your life interesting and you will be interesting to other people. And that's by finding things that interest you. Have interests, guys.
yeah,
I say things like, I promise you, there are at least 5 things in this world that interest you you don't know about, that you aren't aware of, you haven't found, you haven't discovered yet. There's a
yeah,
writer that you like, or maybe a producer, or maybe a speaker, or someone that motivates you, you really enjoy, or maybe there's a place in the world you have to see, some history you really want to learn. These are things you aren't even aware that interest you. And when you're in relationships with toxic people, you won't ever find things that interest you.
yeah,
You can't do these things. So how do you find friends? How do you make friends? Well, why don't you become an interesting person? Find interests, things that interest you. And as you explore these interests, you're going to find other people with the same common interest. And those
yeah,
people are potential friends because now you share common interests together. You're an interesting person. That's how we find friends.
it's
Not
it's
online, in our
yeah,
community. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Look, it's going to be scary, Kimberly. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh wow, this is going to be easy. Stepping out into the world when you've been isolated by the narcissist and you've been conditioned to only meet their needs and everything revolves around them and your needs. Like David was saying, have just been well, you weren't allowed to have any needs, okay? Otherwise, that's you being selfish. So when clients come to see me on the first visit, when I talk to victims and survivors, I ask them, what's your passion? And a lot of them will say, well, I don't have one, which is really normal. So I don't often give homework, but that's homework I give them. The first visit is go and find something that you want to be passionate about. And yeah, they don't know what that is a lot of the time, but like David said, do some
The
research and
motivation
chat
is
to your
kind of
child.
gone for that. The
Yeah.
motivation is gone. Yeah,
Yeah. There's, go and do some salsa dancing or something like that. Just find something that you think would be fun where there's going to be other people. And like David said, you will meet other people that have similar interests that don't want to abuse and manipulate you, that are simply in that environment because they're interested in what you're interested in, which will make
that's
a
right.
nice change. Yeah. So I
That's
hope
right.
that's helped,
And
Kimberly.
you
It's
can
hard.
almost apply you can almost apply the 10-minute rule where if there's something you don't want to do, just get up and do it for 10 minutes. Most likely you're into it and you start doing it. What are we
Yeah.
comfortable doing? Well, right now you're comfortable sitting at home by yourself. We don't like change, so we have to push ourselves, guys. This is
Yeah.
just pushing ourselves. There's something really important to know is there's an important hormone called oxytocin, and oxytocin is the hormone that helps us trust people. So this relationship leaves you, I'm telling you, every one of you have zero oxytocin. And it's common thing. We lose this as we get older anyways. But I'm telling you right now, the person that is happy as hell and trusts people all the time has high levels of oxytocin.
Yeah.
So the way you build that up is trusting people again. And so we touch and we hug and we look in the eyes and we talk and we say I love you. We give gifts. Things like this raise our oxytocin. It naturally helps us trust people again.
Yeah.
So trusting people helps us trust people, and that's why we need success with these things. We start
Yeah.
small, we get healthy, we find out what went wrong, and we don't do this again. And yeah,
Yeah. And we I guess what you've got to start trusting yourself too, Kimberly, in that you when if you allow yourself enough time to heal and you work through and you validate all your experiences, you will know what you've been through. So you will have that armor of knowledge. So you'll be able to pick the red flags and a lot earlier, obviously, than you did before. So yeah, it's about doing it. Doing it until faking it until you make it. That kind of
that's right.
attitude. Yeah,
That's right. That's right.
yeah. Okay, we've got Denise here. Hi, Denise. Thank you for joining us. Uh, yeah, Rebecca says, you've got a good memory. Yes, I'm from New Zealand. I knew it. Okay. Did it again. Small screen, big fingers. Okay. Jody Campbell. Hi, Jody. Jody says, hey, Nova and David, how do you stop looking paranoid in the eyes of others when your mental health is a huge part of a custody of children? It's been 2 years and he has all these flying monkeys. That's all I can see. I'm sorry, Jody. Wow. This is a really hard one, isn't it, David? Especially when you do have mental health issues and you've got someone, like a narcissist who's, poking you and provoking you all the time, and she's going through a custody battle, clearly, in the
Yeah,
eyes of the court.
sure, sure.
Yeah. So
The best recommendation is get a lawyer, and then you probably have a lawyer, but really know your rights and know what's going on, what you can do. A lot of times, these things that we think are okay, or that the someone that we lived with, we think it's okay for them to harass us or family, and it doesn't matter who it is. They can't harass us. Okay, so unwanted attention is harassment.
yeah,
Things like this, and find out the law because you might be able to get this to stop legally. Talking to lawyers really makes you feel a little better. you know, when
Mm.
they tell you, hey, this is wrong, they can't be doing this. And some of this stuff is easily fixed. Um, the important thing is how do you represent yourself? So as hard as this is, we need to look a little stronger and stuff like this. We need to not react. So the best rule is don't do anything back to them. You don't need, and don't defend yourself. Just let it go. Just let
Yeah.
it go as best
And
as
no
you can.
contact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. No contact. You're right.
Yeah.
Don't react to this. Don't explain. Don't defend yourself. Just let them all be like this and try and stay away from it as much as you can with people that support you. Try and find people to tell you, you know, if we have people telling us or we hear how bad of a person we are, you know, we need
Mm.
somebody kind of saying, no, you're a good person. It's okay. That really helps. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you say, Jody, how do you stop looking paranoid in the eyes of others? Well, you can only look paranoid in their eyes if you're looking in their eyes, if that makes
There you
sense.
go.
And that's what we
Perfect.
mean by, no contact. If you can't see what they're and hear what they're saying and what they're doing, then they can't, see that it's affecting you, and most likely it's going to affect you a lot less. So it's just so important not to react, and just absolutely no contact. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. We've got Denise says hi, Nova and David. Hi, Denise. Uh, Rebecca Hannah's here. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Nova and David. I finally quit my job. I could not continue with my bullying boss, nor my boss's boss, whom allowed her behaviours to continue. And I'm not going to be able to see the end of the long one, but Rebecca says, is it natural to feel panicked like I've made a mistake? Yeah, of course, Rebecca, you're entering into number one. This is going to be scary for you. If it was that toxic and they're having that negative effect on you, then most likely you'll realize that you've done the right thing, because you can't heal in an environment where you get sick. Of course, you're going to feel stressed and a bit scared about the future. That's only normal. You're entering into a new phase of your life, and you're let going of the past, which, even though it was toxic, it's familiar to you. And don't forget, being with a narcissist, you were conditioned to second guess, any action you took that may have been to benefit you. You're going to think, oh, I've done the wrong thing. I'm selfish. I've made a mistake, because the narcissist condition you that all your decisions are just stupid and wrong and ridiculous. So, yeah, did you want to add to that, David?
Yeah. Yep, yep. And I really want to, because doubt comes from neglect. I'm telling you guys, if you guys were neglected in childhood, it's so common for us to doubt everything. What's going on? Are they coming back? What are we? What's the title? I don't know what they're thinking. What should I do? And all these things is a product, like I said, not enough support and attention as a child.
Yeah.
Um, if I can, I'd like to briefly just talk about attachment styles. I think
Yeah.
that's really important, and it so applies right here. All of you guys, we have three attachment styles, and these are developed based on the type of attachment, or when we first attach to our caretakers. What's going on? What's happening? What kind of attention are we receiving from them? And that makes us fall into one of the three attachment styles. So one of them that all of us cannot be is secure. And a secure attachment style is from parents giving you lots of attention, meeting your needs, making you lots of support, making you feel secure your whole life. Because if you feel secure, you can't possibly be with an abuser for years. If you feel like if you're a secure person with a secure attachment style. Now, know that your attachment style is based on when you're attached to somebody. So we can go through our lives being and feeling really strong and sticking up for ourselves all the time. But it's when we are in our late 20s or 30s or 40s, when we really attach to somebody, that's when these feelings come up. So we've got secure, and that's from tons of attention. And then we've got the unsure or anxious, and that's from, not enough attention. Some attention, sometimes not attention. And then you've got the avoidant, And that's almost no attention from your parents. And that's something you'll find with children that are institutionalized, that don't have a caretaker to attach to at all. So it's really important to know what you fall in. And almost all of us in society is becoming more of the middle one, more of the unsure, anxious type. So what happens is we think there's no problems and everything's okay. We finally attach to someone in our lives. We really attach. And then we start feeling unsure. We start feeling anxious, panicky. We're not sure what's happening, what's going on. And we need that person to reassure us. So we ask for reassurance from a narcissist and they don't give it to us,
Yeah.
right? We feel insecure, we need security, and they pull the rug out from underneath us. They exploit that vulnerability.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, many victims of child abuse, childhood neglect and all sorts of abuse. A lot of them come from that, that ambivalent, avoidant style. So they go into, the relationships, I guess, can either be where they, totally, attached to someone for the wrong reasons, thinking that person's not going to get away this time and that they're going to get all this self-worth from this person, or, they can, I guess, be exactly the same and be totally, avoidant and just go through life not attaching, securely to anyone.
right, right. And everybody seeks attachment. So narcissists seek attachment, but I believe a lot of them are avoidant, like you said. So they didn't get the attention they needed at all. So what happens is when they attach to you, eventually, what do? They push you away, don't they?
Mm.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
cruelest possible way, unfortunately. Yeah.
Right. And
Okay.
we need security, and they won't give it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that they can't give it. They have absolutely no capacity to give it. Yeah. So
No.
yeah, I hope that's helped, Rebecca. I think listen to your instinct. I think we're all conditioned to not trust our gut instinct. So if your head's saying, oh, I don't know if I did the wrong thing, but it was your instinct that said, hey, I need to get out of here. Start listening to that gut instinct, because that your instincts will be screaming at you, and that is what is going to protect you, your instincts. So yeah, start trusting your instincts. Okay.
Yeah, if you're not
uh,
sure what to do, guys, if you're not sure what to do, ask yourself how you feel. If you feel bad, that's something that you need to take care of yourself and don't leave it up to other people. That's what we end up doing, you know? We
yeah, we look.
wait and see what they do and we try to make them happy and things like this. And it doesn't work. We need to take care of it ourselves.
Yeah. Okay. uh, Kimberly says, all I attract is narcissists. I don't understand, but I heard empaths and narcissism go hand in hand. Yeah. Look, of course, you know, narcissists are attracted, Kimberly, to, exactly the opposite of who they are. So a narcissist, yeah, is going to be attracted to someone who has empathy and who is kind-hearted, and all of those things that they can never be themselves. I guess the problem is, empaths want to help people, and they naturally want to fix people and be there for others. So an empath will, give and give and give to the point of, just self-destruction with a narcissist, simply because a narcissist will never give and will only take, 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 take. The problem is, as you know, narcissists project all of their negative qualities onto you, the empath. But what you don't realize is that you're doing the same thing. As an empath, you're actually, you have trouble comprehending, you've got a high emotional intelligence, and you have trouble comprehending that other people don't have a high emotional intelligence. So what you do is you project all of your good traits onto the narcissist, and you think that, oh, that I believe that they really are a good person, and that everyone's born good, and that they deserve a chance, and I can fix them, and all this kind of thing. So you go into bat for them and hang around with all the conditioning to help you. But yeah, it's this dance that the empaths and narcissists do, where one kind of, in a twisted kind of way, They complement each other, and it's up to you, the empath, if you want to get out of this, to recognize what you're doing, what you've gone through, and yeah, and break that connection. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Well said. And I think it's important to note that it's a natural human thing to do to idealize someone else a little bit.
Yeah.
That keeps us, yeah, it keeps us coming back to them when we don't know who they are, really. And
We
that's
want
why you
to live
guys say,
with
"Oh, I
good
met this
people.
amazing person, and I don't quite know who they are yet, but they're amazing." It's like you're idealizing a little bit, and that's okay. But be
Yeah.
careful. Be
Yeah.
careful.
Look out for red flags. Yeah. So yeah, that they do go hand in hand. Kimberly, certainly that's what narcissists are attracted to, is someone who's kind and empathic and everything that they're not. Yeah. Okay. Denise says, why am I missing the narc at the moment? Do you want to tackle that one? Denise is having
Yeah.
those.
There's several reasons, and I'm sure, and one of them is because you love them, because you miss them, because you're a natural, normal human being. But like I said, I'm going back to that idealizing. And in the beginning, you had this hope and this dream that this person sold you, and it's just not true. So most of us tend to do this is we resort back to the beginning and we have this hope. And that's what you're doing. You still have some kind of hope in your mind that it's going to be okay, that it's going to be the way it was, that and I'm telling you, the best thing you can do is you have to cut this hope off somehow.
Yeah.
There's things you can do, talk about it, write a list of the bad things that happened, write a list of the bad things you missed out on. Get rid of things that are things that you have to see and reminded of all the time. Let's make a mark in our life and a chapter to say we're going to start a new chapter today. And we don't have to close that old one. There's things we need to resolve, but we need to begin a new chapter in our life. Okay. We need to start facing the direction that we want to go and where we want to be. And we can't just keep staying in this bad stuff. We need to resolve it and talk about it and sort these things out, process them. But we need to see where we need to go somewhere else. We need to face a positive direction and a place we want to be.
Yeah.
So it's normal. It's normal. Very, very normal to miss somebody that you love, that you spent time with, shared children with, married to, lived with. That is normal. But
Yeah.
please, you got to start telling your brain the truth. You got to start telling yourself who this person really is, what they've done to you, that they don't care to resolve it, that they don't care to make you feel better about it. Okay? And who this person really, really is.
Yeah. And that's it, isn't it? You have to, Denise, you have to rewire your brain, and that's what is required. If you haven't, we've talked a lot about trauma bonding, and that's a really important concept that you need to be aware of. Trauma bonding, it's an addiction to the narcissist, and yeah, you only remember those good times because of, if you were to remember let's go back to the cognitive dissonance again. If you were to remember the bad times, then that would mean that you were with someone who was an abuser. You were with an extremely abusive person. So that plays havoc with your brain. When someone's loved you implicitly at the beginning, this plays absolute havoc with your brain. So you've got that cognitive dissonance going on. So you don't want to believe that it was a really abusive, horrible relationship. So you get rid of that stuff, and your brain just clings on to those little breadcrumbs of the good times where they made you feel, amazing. And, that registers as love. And of course, if you, believe that you love someone, then, you miss them when they're not there. So, like David said, you've just got to teach your brain to think differently, and yeah, and tell it the truth, because the truth is that person was your abuser. The same as that, if they had have broken every bone in your body, they are your abuser, and start referring to them as that. Yeah. So yeah, it's totally normal.
Realize it's a dysfunctional relationship. So you guys didn't. there's no closure. You guys didn't get to talk about and explain things to each other and feel better about these things. That's why we have to do this. It's necessary. You need closure. You need to talk about, how do I feel? How do you feel? Why is it over? Things like this. It really helps our brain. And without it, we're left back again thinking it's all us. It's all wrong. What's going on? Where are they going? What are they doing? Are they coming back? And
Yeah.
then, it's just not enough attention growing up. It's not enough support. If you guys had tons of people and friends and family, encouraging you, saying, hey, let's go out, come over here, let's do this, you wouldn't be missing this person that abused you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So hope that's helped, Denise.
Change
Uh,
your environment. Change your environment. Move, redecorate, rearrange your furniture. How about let's get rid of those clothes he gave you, or if he did give you anything, let's get rid of this. Let's not see it. Let's
oh yeah.
totally change our lives.
Yeah. Have a, a bonfire. We'll put all the old photos and, all the old clothes and pictures and, I don't know, I'm really not making light of this for you, Denise, but do something symbolic. Do something that is going to symbolize the end, and give yourself closure. I had a lady I saw a couple of months a client who came to see me, a recovering victim of narcissistic abuse, and she was still wearing her engagement ring, and I just said, I've just noticed that you're wearing your engagement ring, and she just said, I just can't take it off because that would mean the end. And so I didn't want to ask her to take it off there and then. So I said, well, how about you go home tonight, get with someone who's really supportive, a friend, someone that you really trust implicitly, and you have, I don't know, some kind of a little ceremony. Just do something symbolic where you take that ring off and you give yourself closure and you say, okay, this is it. This is me saying goodbye to my past. It's over, it's finished, and stepping into my new life. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's tell this thing that it's over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Nikki Aiden's here. Hi, Nikki. Nikki says, hi, guys. I'm a survivor, but I'm still on the journey getting me back to me. Awesome news, Nikki. So glad to hear that. Yeah, it's going to be a journey, ups and downs, sideways, doing the cha-cha, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But as long as you're on the way back to you, that is the most important thing. So yeah, I guess you're an inspiration to other survivors, Nikki. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Okay. Rebecca says, my ex used to call and text me every 3 seconds. I told him to cut it out, but it didn't change. Now I know to run to the hills. Yeah, get those Nikes on, Rebecca, and do the 100-yard dash. Yes, knowledge is power. Yeah, yeah, that's what they do. Every 3 seconds doesn't surprise me. If you don't answer the first time, then that's they suffer narcissistic injury from that because you should be at their beck and call. So yeah,
And
glad to see that you're out.
they want to get in your head. They want to get in your head. They want you thinking about them all the time. It's just like Facebook giving you notifications all day long. You
Yeah,
check your Facebook, check your Facebook, check your Facebook, check your, it's just don't think about anything else except Facebook. Don't think about anything else but me.
yeah, yeah, and and that's why it's so important to block. I know people who don't block. I've had people sit in my in my office with me, and their phone's gone off, 10 times, and they've looked at them. Well, that's him or that's her, and the first time that they might do 2 or 3 texts, and then it'll be question mark, a question mark, question mark, and this is just as David said, to get inside your head to ruin your life so that you are always thinking about them. So you have to block them in every way, shape, or form. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Denise says, I'm from Adelaide. Hi, Denise. Um, nearly lost it. Bernie's in Brisbane. Mark Silverwood. Hi, Mark. Is a year the average time when the narc gets bored with us, the new supply. Oh, sorry, with the new supply. Is a year the average time when the narc gets bored with the new supply? Would you put a time frame on it like that, David?
Yeah, I
There's a
really
lot of
can't.
variables there, isn't there?
Yeah, I can't do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Understand there's a lot of things going on. This isn't, not, we aren't casting molds. Narcissists weren't made out of all the same exact mold. We're talking
yeah,
about a personality disorder, and this somewhat they all have their own little personality.
yeah, yeah,
And you realize that that initial love bombing stage, that there's hormones in their head just like yours that's rising and falling, and they feel excited. Eventually those go down and drop, but it's all at different times. You guys could have a really exciting relationship and that might last another year or two. I don't know, but a lot of it's being bored. It's just natural reactions to hormones falling, and this isn't exciting anymore, and
yeah. There's
so
just
who
so
knows.
many, yeah, so many variables there, Mark. Genetics are going to factor in there too. What are their hormones like? And what's going on? How much supply are you giving them? Maybe they're not working and they're able to give them tons and tons of narcissistic supply. So yeah, it's really it's. I don't think there's an average time frame. It just depends on the narcissist really, and what they're getting from the relationship. Yeah,
That's right. That's right.
yeah. Okay, who else have we got? Um, Colleen says, I feel like there's double lives, the one in writing and the real life story. Shared care, trying to cover my butt legally because the email allegations are lies. It's exhausting. Um, Shared care, trying to cover my butt. I'm assuming that you're meaning shared care with children there, Colleen. So yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, which is covering your butt. Keep a paper trail, document everything, and keep everything to email only. Don't have any face-to-face contact with your abuser. And yeah, just keep documenting everything. You already know that they have a personality disorder, so don't keep trying to analyze them. You're only going to do your head in. Just what they are, document, and have absolute minimal contact with them. Yeah. Who
Don't try
else?
to convince everybody that they're disordered. It doesn't usually turn out well,
Yeah,
especially
yeah,
the court and the judge and things like this. They don't care.
yeah. That's right. You've got to remember these are master manipulators. They've been doing it all their lives, and you, especially when you're frazzled, you've been abused, and you're not on top of your game. You going around telling this people that this person who's so charismatic and comes across, being so, well spoken or whatever, is not going to be very convincing. So just, yeah, I guess say as little as possible about them. Xenia Goods here. Hi, Xenia. Morning, Nova and David. Okay, from the good morning, Xenia, I'm gathering that you're in the States because it's 8 o'clock at night here. So, Xenia, morning, Nova and David. Thank you for the beautiful work you do. I watch lots of CNXG videos and just would like to say between David and Kim Wilson, I'm on a very long healing journey and you help. Oh, there you go,
Thank you.
David.
Thank you. Thank you. Good. Thank you very
I,
much. Good.
I can't see the
Keep
end of
going.
your statement there,
This
but
journey
yeah,
never ends. This journey never ends. Life's a journey. Keep going.
yeah,
Thank you.
really, really kind words there, Xenia. And thank you for joining us here tonight. Okay. Colleen's here. Colleen says, Hi, Nova and David. Just want to say thank you both so much for your videos. The first one I watched left me wondering, had you guys been in my home without me knowing? Yeah. And I guess that's just a reflection, isn't it, David, of the textbook, I guess machinations of the narcissist.
That aha moment. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Don't you all have it? You would remember, you start Googling and getting on the computer and then you have that light bulb moment and you go, oh, you probably swear a bit. Go, oh my goodness, I've been, with a narcissist. And that's, yeah, the start of your healing journey, really.
Mhm.
Nikki Aiden says, hi, guys. Uh, Denise, I'm so lost that I don't know how to reboot myself back into my life. It's like I have forgotten how to do it. Yeah, look, please go back and listen to David's response about getting back into life again. We talked about it a little bit earlier on, Denise. I'm not sure if you were here. About not isolating and faking it till you make it. Just get out there and do it while it feels uncomfortable. And by that I mean finding a passion again in your life. Yeah.
Get some professional help. Get somebody in your corner just there for you. You know,
David and
that's why
I.
I'm here.
David and I both, counsel victim and support victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse, Denise. So, if you want to have one therapy, please contact us. And it can just be so validating to have just someone who understands, who gets it. And I really think therapy with a therapist who gets narcissistic abuse, which is so important, can really, really help. Yeah.
Yeah, help make some sense.
Yeah. Xenia says, I have found some of my support at a Together Women's Project. Awesome. They help finding therapies and much more. Can't fault them, and it helps with my isolation as I have to attend appointments. Well, yeah, that's fantastic, Xenia, and that's really, really inspirational for people like Denise who are struggling and who are staying isolated. Yeah, so some great words there, Xenia, and some really good inspiration for others. Oh gosh. Okay. Jody says, laugh out loud, a divorce party. So I'm assuming that you're referring to when we were talking about doing something symbolic, but perhaps, Jody, not too sure. Okay. Venus is here. Hi, Venus. You're a bit late. I didn't see you earlier on, but how you going? Oh, yeah, Venus says, sorry, Johnny having seizures. Oh, my goodness. Well, hope he's okay. But, yeah, it's good to have you back, Venus, as always. Okay. But she says, I'm here now. Yeah. Any more questions, guys? Hold on. Kimberly Ann D'Angela says, a very common question, and understandably so. Does the narcissist get their karma back? Okay. Maybe not in while you're watching and not in the way you think, but the answer to that, Kimberly, is yes. Yes, they do. Okay. The narcissist gets their karma through not being able to get narcissistic supply anymore. Okay. As they age, it especially happens as they age, they lose their looks, they lose their ability to attract people, that charismatic personality. They've burnt so many bridges in their life. They've lied to so many people that they can no longer, they virtually can barely walk down the end of their street without coming across someone that they have wronged in some way. So they don't go out much. They tend to isolate. They become nastier. They become meaner, and they become more bitter because life hasn't rewarded them like they should have been rewarded. They are superior to everyone else, and life did not give them what they deserved. So they turn into bitter, just awful, mean and nasty old people. And when they're alone, with no one around to love them or support them anymore, that's their karma. And it happens to all of them.
Right. Hey, I couldn't agree more. I'm not going to sit there and say like what a lot of people have an idea of karma. Just try to realize, guys, what you see right now in them, that they look great, strong, happy with someone else, married, children. It doesn't matter because a narcissist is a dysfunctional person, meaning they can't experience full happiness and joy if you don't have empathy and love. The number one most important thing to human beings are other human beings. The number one important thing in our lives are our relationships with people. They don't have success relationships with anybody, anything, anytime. They cannot have success, guys. Okay. So the things that you've enjoyed in your life, they may never have experienced and they may never will.
Yeah.
So don't think that they're off and running and happy. They are not happy. You cannot be happy being disordered. That's probably pretty much what it means. If you have a personality disorder, your life is horrible.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, realize, if you can't have the most important thing in our lives, they don't feel comfortable. They don't feel secure ever with who they are in their lives. They have failed relationships just like you do. And they can blame whoever they want. The fact still stays the same. They have no success. They have no relationships. They don't have security in their life.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Their life is horrible.
They wake up in the morning and their number one thought is how do I, how do I squash this shame, this underlying shame that I have inside me, which is their true self. So, imagine being that sort of person. The second you wake up in the morning, it's about what do I do to get energy so that I never have to, be that wounded child again and address that shame, which they never
Yeah.
ever will. So they're like a shark, swimming, that can never sleep, just swimming endlessly around in circles searching for blood. From the second, that they get up in the morning, that's the life that they are doomed to. That's their karma. So don't, like David said, you see them, you see what they want you to see. Okay. You see what they are reflecting outwards so that they get their needs met, but it's not real. It's not real. They are just shame ridden individuals. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Shame based. They come from shame. They believe they're bad people. Anything else they project is absolutely false. It's just to make themselves feel better because they don't have people there to do that for them when they were children. It's
Yeah.
just you feel like you're a bad person. That's it. Now go on with your life. And I'm going to counteract that with I'm the best person in the world.
Yeah, yeah, that's their shield of armor that they wear forevermore. The only thing it's an illusion. Yeah. So yeah, does the narcissist get their karma? Yes, they absolutely do, Kimberly. Okay. Mylene Khan here. Hi, Mylene. I've I've sent a lot of text messages and phone calls when I've been discarded. Does that make me narcissistic because of when being left high and dry in the past by the narc? David?
No, of course that doesn't make you narcissistic. It sounds like you're saying you're reacting to someone discarding you. That's a horrible thing to have happen. And like I've said before, we need closure, guys. It's one thing to leave someone's life, but you got to tell them why. Explain it to them. Especially someone we care about and they care about us. And when you discard, and they know that, guys, when they discard you, you're just left there going, oh my God, what's happening? It makes you kind of go towards them. And we need answers. We want to know what happened, what's going on.
Yeah. And meanwhile, the narcissist is feeding off your pain, Mylene. So they'll be wanting you, to ring, and trying to get answers and trying to get closure. Your pain when you've been discarded, it's it's so enticing. It's like perfume. It's like having a hit of cocaine for the narcissist. They just get such a buzz out of it, out of watching
Yeah.
in pain.
Yeah, you want to confuse the narcissist? Sit there and be like, I love you too, just like they do. And then you know how they just walk out the door and don't say nothing? Never contact them again. Just, oh, okay. And then they'll just sit there and go, what's going on? And they'll call you back. Why aren't you contacting me? Why? What are you doing? Don't you care about me? And you got them. I mean, that's impossible to do. I get it, but that's the kind of reaction that will get them.
Yeah, that's not that we advocate for revenge because you can't get revenge against someone who has no conscience,
But just an example how strong they really are not is if they just walk out the door and don't tell you anything and you never contact them again, they'll totally believe it's because they're a bad person, and they'll
Yeah.
have to validate themselves, and they'll contact you again.
Yeah. Yeah, so don't beat yourself up, Mylene. Everyone wants closure when they get discarded because you want to know why. You want some answers,
Yeah.
but you will never get them from the narcissist, and you're only feeding him. You're only feeding him narcissistic supply if he's hoovering you, or you're just wanting closure. You're only giving him exactly what he wants. So, like David said, give him exactly the opposite, and yeah, no contact, and start working on your healing. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys always wonder why they don't hoover you. Well, start looking happy, successful, and everybody else loves you. They can't handle it.
Yeah. Kelly's here. Hi, Kelly. Kelly says, my ex-narc has been in a new relationship for a few months now. All of a sudden, he's putting public posts of her and the things they are doing. Before it was all locked down. No, I'm not stalking. Sorry, that's all I can see. Kelly, I'm having trouble seeing the long ones. Okay, so he's been in a new relationship, and he's now putting lots of posts up of the new supply. Well, even if you're not stalking, you're somehow seeing that, Kelly, which is not good for you. I'm not sure how you're seeing that. I can't see the end there. But believe me, he will know that you're seeing those photos, and that's why he's doing it. Okay? Those photos are just an illusion. We've been talking about this all night, the illusion of them being happy, after they've discarded you. And we know an narcissist can never be happy. And it's to get at you and create this illusion that the problem was not them, the problem is you. Because look at them. They're all happy. They found someone new. They're in a lovely relationship with someone who loves them. So the problem is you. So it compounds that self, that worthlessness that you feel. It has everyone else agreeing with them, and it feeds into that smear campaign that you're crazy and he had to leave you, and all that kind of stuff. So you don't want to know about this stuff, and it's all an illusion. Yeah, it's just not real. And this person's only going to, the same thing's going to happen to them that happened to you, Kelly. Yeah.
Yeah, these are shallow people that seek validation. You know, we don't post problems on Facebook, do we? What do we post? I'm in love. I accomplished this. I went to Paris. Here's my new boat. That's what we post on Facebook, and that's what he's doing too.
Yeah.
Especially somebody that needs validation, especially somebody that doesn't know who he is, and all he cares about is image, because my image means that's who I am to him. He's
Yeah.
got nothing else, no identity. My image, this is who I am. So I'm going to
Yeah.
project who I want to be.
And also remember, Kelly, I'm just reading there again that you said all of a sudden he's putting public posts off after being in lockdown for a few months. Oh no, he's been in okay, so he's only just recently putting posts of him and the new supply up. Nothing's ever a coincidence with the narcissist. So nothing happens coincidentally. So, if posts weren't going up before of her, then perhaps, he was with another victim, and he's been triangulating, and he couldn't put the posts up at that stage because it would have proved him a liar, with someone else. So there's always an agenda. Nothing, there's no, being nice about it, not wanting to hurt someone's feelings. So, I'll just leave those photos for a little while and maybe post them a little bit later on. There's none of that going on. There's always an agenda which protects them. It's all about them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just let it be a relationship that is built on and began with hurting other people. Great.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that if the relationship is a result of cheating, well, why would anyone think that person's not going to cheat? If they came into the relationship because that person is cheating on this person, then of course that person's going to cheat on them as well, because that they don't change. So it's silly to go into a relationship and think, I'm going to be the one.
Yeah,
which is
right. And
what.
if you want someone to change all the bad behavior and abuse they did to you, how did they handle it with you? Did they tell you, did they acknowledge that they abused you and they're really sorry for all the bad things they did to you? And now I'm going to seek counseling, I'm getting help and stuff like this? Because that's how people change. People
Yeah.
don't change because I met the right person, because I met someone named, Lisa. I met Lisa. This is why I changed because of Lisa. Now I'm a totally different person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It requires a bit more than, just meeting someone, meeting the one, for the 10th time in their life. Okay, guys, we might just answer a couple more and then we might start to wrap it up. Okay, who else have we got here? Uh, Angelique's here. Hi, Angelique. Angelique Grace Moylan. I'm treating myself to a 15-day trip to Bali meditation retreat next spring on my ex's dime. Alimony money, laugh out loud, taking the next step to healing. Yeah, well, I reckon that would be doubly healing. Going to Bali is pretty cool, but doing it on your ex's dime, yeah, that's swell.
And I got
Good
to
on.
tell you, you guys want a great immediate fix, better than any medicine that a doctor will prescribe you. Go on vacation. Go on vacation, 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 because your brain is stuck in survival mode with this person that you're trying to get over, and you're in the same home, you're in the same town, and all you're doing is thinking about the same things. When you go to a new place, a new island, a new country with new people and new weather, your brain is too stimulated to sit and focus on negative, bad, depressing things that happened a while ago. Your brain
Yeah,
has got to start paying attention to keep you alive there. So it's,
yeah,
what's going on here? Watch out for this. Let's do this. And your brain, it just takes it away from that. I'm telling you, vacation's the best
yeah,
thing you could do,
yeah.
just
Good
for
for
some
you,
immediate
Angelique.
relief.
Yeah. Okay, we've got Bean Starch here again. Hi, Bean Starch. Karma. At the end of the day, they will die absolutely and completely alone. Oh, couldn't have said it better, Bean Starch. That is just so true. And even on, and I hear this a lot from, people that I speak to, is that, that a few of them, even on their deathbeds, particularly narcissistic parents, they would still be gaslighting them and saying, it's all your fault. And, and the children just wanted to hear, I love you, and get some kind of closure and validation for the, a lifetime of abuse. And even on their deathbed, they can't give it. It's someone else's fault. So, yeah,
Yep.
they do. They die completely and utterly alone.
Yeah, that's a great example. I mean, think about, we all think about, sometimes we think about death and we think about, what do we want when we're at the lowest point? We want people, but not just anybody. We want people we really love, people that love us, people that we've spent time with it would be great if we have somebody there that have been with us our whole life. Wouldn't it be better to have, if you're on your way out, I'd rather have people with me that have known me my whole life rather than somebody that's been with me. I've known them for 5 days. So, and why? Because we want some substance and attachment and love and things like this. These guys don't have it. These guys don't have it. When they're dying, they're going to have, a nurse, maybe they might have some victim they've abused their whole, for however long, just sitting there going, I'm sorry. It's not
Yeah.
going to, you're going to feel alone, very alone when you die. You're going to die alone. And you're right. They're going to die alone. I don't care who's
Very,
standing around them. They're going to die alone.
yeah, very, very much so.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Venus says narcs have to hurt others to bury their shame in hope to cause others shame. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like yeah, that's just projection, isn't it, Venus? Get they don't want to address what they've got on going on the inside themselves. So yeah, they shine it onto someone else and they attack it, and
Yeah,
and that way they
a
never
lot
have to.
of a lot of hurt people hurt people. So know that when you see someone hurting people all the time, know that they're hurting. I don't care if they're doing it with a smile on their face, they're hurting. That's why they hurt people. Good,
Yeah.
happy, healthy people that don't experience pain in their life have no reason to cause pain to others.
Yeah. Not that that's an excuse. There is never an
No,
excuse to,
no.
in fact, it really should be the opposite. If you've experienced, horrific grief and pain in your life, that should make you empathic and, not
Yeah,
want
that's
to,
why we have more
put
empathy.
someone else through that. Yeah.
Typically, that's why we have more empathy. When people call themselves empaths, it's
Yeah.
because that has been pressed, that has been, challenged. You end up caring more about people typically, unless it's so bad that empathy has been beaten out of you. You just didn't
Yeah.
have a chance to develop it, and those are the people that usually tend to hurt others a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, got any last minute people here? Okay, I think we've just about, if there's any more question, guys, yeah, please just comment below and I will try to answer them all during the week. But I'm just seeing if there's anyone we've missed tonight because I don't want to not say low, but often I do. Okay. I think that's about it, guys. Anyway, as I said, if you do have any, oh, Crystal's there. Hi, Crystal. I miss Crystal. Crystal Battons. I can't remember if I said hi. Anyway, hi, Crystal. Yeah, guys. Look, please just comment your questions below, and yeah, as always, please share this live stream so we can continue to raise awareness. Was there anything else you wanted to say, David, before we wrap it up?
No, I addressed a lot of the subjects or the things I wanted to talk about with this. So I hope it makes sense. I hope you guys have kind of been able to find some kind of reasons that help you understand why you did this or why this happened or why this person did this to you. I hope it makes sense. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I want to thank you again. Thank you very much for having me on here. I really enjoy it. Thank you guys. And I think, why don't you guys give us some ideas on things you want us to address and talk about in the future? Tell
Yeah,
us.
yeah,
Come on
great
over.
idea, David. Yeah,
Yeah.
please, everyone, give David and I some ideas. We try and come up with a different topic each week that we think would be interesting for you. So yeah, maybe comment below and toss it up between you. If there's anything you'd like us to address next time. Oh, there won't be a live stream next week, guys, just because of family commitments. It'll be, so not next week, the Tuesday after that, we'll both be back with that. So, yeah, give us some ideas. Please like and subscribe to David's YouTube channel, Crazy Narcissist Ex-Girlfriend, CNXG. And please subscribe to my new YouTube channel. Just look for Brighter Outlook Counselling Service. And yeah, I think that's about all. David, thank you so much for getting up in the early hours of morning over in Las Vegas. How's the weather there? Still hot?
Sunny and hot every day.
Sunny and hot? It's getting better here.
Yep.
We're nearly in spring. A couple more weeks to go. Yeah. All right.
Right.
Well, thank you, David. As always, I love having you here and your support. As always, it's fantastic. Your knowledge is just amazing. And yeah, it's been awesome having you here tonight. So I will see you. I'll talk to you before then, but hopefully you'll be back in a couple of weeks to join in the live stream again with hopefully some topics that everyone has raised for us.
Yeah, I will be back. And everybody, my followers, this will be on my YouTube channel. Nova's YouTube channel is brand new. Please go. I'll have the link down below in the description box. Please just take it over there, subscribe, like what she's doing, follow her. Thank you. For me, do that for me. Thanks. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you, David. You are very, very sweet. Thank you. Okay, David. Well, thank you again, and I'll say goodbye, and I'll talk to you very soon.
Okay. Bye, guys. Thank you.
See you, David. Bye.
Bye.
Say goodbye to David. Love, love, love having David here. He's just an inspiration. So I hope you all enjoyed that and got lots out of it. Late. And I saw Shelley just a second ago too. So Shelley joined in. Shelley Bass would love to hear more on parenting with narcissists, the ex, and how to manage when unable to go completely no contact. Yeah, that's a really good topic, Shelley, and one we get asked a lot. So yeah, we'll definitely look into doing a show on that, and possibly a YouTube video. I think I'd really like to do a video on YouTube around that, because I do get asked a lot. So yeah, hi Ali, hi Shelley. Yeah, guys, I'm going to, Venus says, I shared. Please like and share, guys. This is the only way to get, this out there and get more support and more understanding about this insidious type of psychological abuse, so that, that there's more therapists out there, that the legal system gets on board, and, the judicial system is on your side. That's why we need to continue to raise awareness. So on that note, I'd like to say goodbye. If you would like to have a one-on-one session with me, I'm a counsellor on the north side of Brisbane. I have Skype available for those of you who are outside of Australia, and I would love to be able to support you in healing from your narcissistic abuse trauma. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining in. I will see you, don't forget, not next Tuesday night, but the Tuesday night after that. So in a fortnight, I'll be back again with David, and I look forward to seeing you then. On that note, remember your worth, everyone, and then add tax. Bye-bye.